Good morning, everyone. It's week 7. Today I want to talk about the importance of self-care. So this week, well, the past week and a half at my field placement, we have had to discharge 2 individuals from the program due to breaking their behavior contracts for one, and then the other individual, we ended up having to pull her day pass due to an incident that had happened. And this was something that was extremely hard to be a part of, and also to watch. So both individuals, one had a behavior contract because she had gotten 3 write-ups. So once you get 3 write-ups, you get a behavior contract stating, what you're doing well and what behaviors need to be worked on. And if you break that contract, it is a dischargeable offense. So a lot of the women that are in this facility have some issues with codependency. And this one particular resident, her significant other is he's basically her drug. She doesn't feel she can exist without him. It's not a healthy relationship. It's verbally abusive. Was physically abusive at one point, but according to her, that had changed about 6 months ago. They were both in treatment, both her and her significant other. The significant other is in treatment in Florida, and she's obviously here with us. And what happened was he was on a list of unapproved people to speak with because they were both being verbally abusive to each other on the phone, and it wasn't conducive to her recovery process. So what she did was got another resident. This particular resident is the other resident that got discharged, and had her distract staff while she tried to call her significant other, and was caught doing it. And at that particular point, it was on a case-by-case basis where we decided that it was not in her best interest to discharge her, and gave her a second chance in regards to her behavior contract, which she then broke the following day when at nighttime there's only one staff member, and that staff member was doing another supervised phone call with another resident, and she snuck the phone and called her significant other twice. And so we ended up having to discharge her, and it was very hard because she was very emotional, but she also didn't own up to what she did. We had call logs stating that she actually called him, and she would not admit to it, and actually tried to blame the other residents in the house, saying that they were the ones that called him and whatnot. So when we discharged her with a plan in place. We don't let them just walk out the door with nowhere to go. We put her at a place called Crossroads, which is a homeless shelter, with an intake set up for the following day for another facility similar to ours, but a little bit different. So she's not going to get the length of treatment there that she would with us. This other resident, not only did she distract staff, but she there was an outing for a press release for our program director and for one of our recovery service workers for our stigma campaign here in New Hampshire against substance abuse. And she the rule is that there is no cigarettes leaving the facility. So if you're going to an appointment or wherever with staff, that there is no smoking. And we have designated smoke breaks, so if you go and you miss a smoke break, then you have to wait till the next one. Well, she was really upset about that and decided that she wanted to ask somebody that was at this press release for cigarettes, and took 3 other individuals with her. All 3 of them received write-ups. Unfortunately, this was the third write-up for this particular individual who has just started her phase 2 program. So we ended up having to pull a pass for her, where she was supposed to go to a wedding on last Saturday. And because we pulled that pass, she decided that she didn't want to be there anymore, and she wanted to leave. Which was very difficult because it was kind of like, okay, well, we all miss important things in our lives, and there are things that we have to do to make sure that there are things that we have to do, and we have to miss certain things and whatnot. And it was very difficult for not only staff, but for the other residents to watch her make the decisions that she was making. She's pregnant. She's a high-risk pregnancy. And she has a couple of felony charges for drug trafficking, and was released with the condition that she would finish this program and stay with us until June, which would be her 1-year mark. And because now she has left, we had to notify the police. We had to call her attorney, because now she's considered a fugitive if she does not turn herself in at this particular point. So she had a 3-month suspended sentence with 1 year with us, and because now she's gone from our program, she will be serving over 10 years in jail. And so now she's going to lose custody of her baby. So it's been a really, really kind of a tough week and a half in regards to that, and staff has kind of felt it's a loss. We've kind of taken it pretty hard, and they've been there 60 days. They were doing the work, and it kind of goes along with that self-sabotage. Once they're doing well, they've always stated, once we start to do well and feel that things are going well, we'll do something to screw it up. And as much as we tried to prevent that, it didn't work. So staff got together and just kind of hung out in the main office doing, talking about it, doing some meditation, sending out some positive energy, that type of thing, and all just talking about what it is that we do to handle the stress of the day, and not taking on these individuals' problems and leaving it at the door when we walk out the door. So it was talking about like compartmentalizing and, not trying to not take all of it on, but also being able to show compassion and empathy for these individuals and understand that this is difficult for them. But at the same time, we have to do our job, and you signed contracts and code of conduct and all of that stuff, and you still didn't abide by that. So it was pretty stressful. So we kind of, all of us just kind of sat down, hashed it out, kind of did our little grief process type thing about losing these two particular individuals. And then we carried that into the house and had a house meeting and sat down with all of the other residents within the house, and had each and every one of them kind of say what they were feeling, how they felt about the whole situation, and then just kind of let it go. And that was really great to be a part of, because it was, even though it was really difficult and it was sad for a lot of the residents, and it was sad for staff, we kind of felt that weight be lifted and know that, okay, we're all going to be okay. We did our best by these two individuals, and their choices are their choices, and we have to, even though we're not happy with it and we're uncomfortable with it, we have to sit with that and figure out how to process that. So self-care in regards to, this is a high rate burnout job, and if you are not taking care of yourself, and if this is something that one of us would dwell on for a long time, it would just kind of eat us up. So, it's been a few days since they've been discharged, and we still sometimes will sit down and have a conversation about it, because there are still some of us that are having a difficult time with it, worrying about whether they're going to be okay or not. The one particular individual that decided to, that we put in a homeless shelter and have her set up with a different program, we will be managing her outpatient, so she still will be seeing her therapist that is at the residency, which is great. So we still get to kind of keep tabs on her, and she can reapply again in 30 days for the program if we have an opening. Currently, right now, we are in the process of filling 2 of those beds that will make our house full again. And we do have a few transitioning out within the next 2 months. So hopefully, maybe we can get one of them back in. I'm not really 100% positive how that will go. But it's definitely very important when you're in this job to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're doing things for yourself that will help alleviate the stress that you feel during the day. Because I know for me that this was the first time that I had been a part of something like this. It was very challenging for me to keep my emotions in check. There were quite a few times where I started to tear up a little bit, because this particular woman was just so distraught by the fact that she had to be discharged. But then again, at the same time, she was talked to once, and then twice. We can't have that. She doesn't. it wasn't conducive to her recovery, and she didn't care. All she saw was him, and that was that. And so it was very difficult to be a part of that process. But at the same time, it was also very eye-opening to know that, it's very, very important to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves so that we can be there for those that we are helping. Because I would be no good to anybody if this was something that I carried with me and thought about constantly, or didn't leave it at the door when I left. So that's my spiel on self-care and how important it is. I don't really have any questions. We all deal with self-care in our own ways. Some do meditation and driving and reading and whatnot. And, I think it's very important to keep up with that. And I'm way over my time. I'm really sorry for that. So I hope you all have a great week.